Okay, we're gonna get started a little bit late, and apologize.
At the end, you're back.
So I'm gonna open a public hearing to approve our policies as listed on the agenda. Mr. Dixon.
Yes, board members, we have 8 policies. I only have a couple of comments. You've got the list. On the first one, I think it was a consensus that you'll approve that tonight, and we'll bring it back for another, and amend it to add some additional language and retitle it to Flag Display Pledge and National Anthem. But you're approving it as written tonight. And then there was one other policy where I had received some comments. They're very minor changes on, let's see, policy 8.804, authenticator management, page 2 of 2 in the top paragraph where it says if a user forgets their password or if their password is compromised, Mrs. Counts would like to change the word there to his or her as opposed to there, and there's no substantive change there, so I.
Pronoun indicates agreement.
Drives me
We
crazy.
should have, you didn't have to wrap me out like
I
that.
think our attorney's gonna disagree with that.
Always disagree.
I don't know if it's a,
Our
We didn't care about the
pronouns.
I mean,
pronoun.
we can approve it and as written and then come back and amend it if necessary, but since it's not a substantive change, I think we've done that in the past ones like that.
Which paragraph is it again?
It's 8.804.
Yes.
On page 2 of 2, in the top paragraph there, where it says if a user forgets their password or if their password is compromised, to change there to his/her.
Well, in my sense, it was perfect. But of course,
talk to your wife.
that's exactly what I was just going to say, but my wife and I would have a little different
Those are the
feeling
only
on it.
Yeah.
comments.
You did-
She'd say, don't put my name on it.
And with that, I'll open it up for any questions.
If it's a legalese, I don't know where you get your grammar from. But, no, the
That was
state
from the-
does, I know.
I would suggest approving it if you wanted to change it later. The problem with changing policies is that if it needs to be a substantive change or something, but I don't know if that is or isn't. I would err on the side of caution. I would just leave it as there. We're gonna bring back the other policy anyhow. If the board wants to change it at that point in time, re-advertise it, change it to the next meeting.
Yeah, it's just a grammatical error. It's not a.
It's not adding a period to the end of the sentence or whatever. So the problem is that we're doing rulemaking, and so there's a very strict process that you have to go through.
Yeah, but it should be grammatically correct if they're representing schools.
Then we'll change it. We'll advertise it again.
The truck bring both of them.
I'll bring it back with you. And that's it.
Can we take it all then with one motion? Is there any reason?
Don't we have to
Yeah,
call?
you have to ask for public comment.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can take it in one motion, Wes?
So we have to ask
Yes.
for public comment.
Okay. On each, we have to ask for public, okay. I'll ask for public comment on each one. Okay, is there a motion?
I go ahead and move to approve revisions to policy 3.60, 5.80, 6.301, 8.80, 8.804, 8.805, 8.806, and 8.807.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion by Mr. Kennedy, a second by Ms. Powers to accept those policies A through H on our agenda, which was just mentioned by Mr. Kennedy. Is there any public comment to policy 3.60, flag display and pledge?
Yes, 3 times too.
Is there any public comments on flag display and pledge, policy 3.60? If there's any public comment on policy 3.60, flag display and pledge? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to move the next policy, policy 5.80, athletics. Is there any public comment on athletics? Is there any public comment on policy 5.80, athletics? Is there any public comment on policy 5.80, athletics? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next policy. Is there any public comment on policy 6.301, conflict of interest in purchasing? Is there any comment on policy 6.301, conflict of interest in purchasing? One more time, is there any comment on policy 6.301? Okay, seeing none, I'll move to the next policy, policy 8.80, records retention and disposal. Is there any public comment? Is there any public comment on policy 8.80, records retention and disposal? Is there any public comment on policy 8.80, records retention and disposal? Seeing none, I'll move to the next policy, policy 8.804, authenticator management. Is there any public comment? Is there any public comment on policy 8.804, authenticator management? Last time, is there any public comment on policy 8.804? Seeing none, I'll move to the next policy, policy 8.805, Bluetooth technologies. Is there any public comment? Is there any public comment on policy 8.805? Well, last time, is there any public comment on policy 8.805, Bluetooth technologies? Seeing none, I'll move to the next policy, policy 8.806, disposal of physical media. Is there any discussion on this policy? Is there any public discussion on policy 8.806, disposal of physical media? Once again, is there any public comment on policy 8.806, disposal of physical media? Seeing none, I'll move to the last policy, policy 8.807, encryption. Is there any public comment? Is there any public comment, policy 8.807? Is there any public comment, policy 8.807, encryption? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public comment time on these policies and ask for a vote. We have a motion and we have a second. Am I correct?
Yes, you
Mhm.
are.
To approve these policies A through H. Is there any discussion amongst the board members? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes 5-0 for policies A through H. Okay, this public hearing is adjourned. And board members, I'm not going to call an executive session. We'll just hold off on that. So we're good to go.
Okay, great.